What is the dumbest explanation you've heard from someone who cheated? I missed you. I was on a short vacation. If you had confidence in yourself, none of this would have happened. I didn't want to hurt you. Way to go, dude. My grandmother died. I didn't realize cheating on your girlfriend is the standard grieving method. When you said you wanted to be exclusive, I thought you meant exclusive here. You never even asked if I had a boyfriend. I had been dating this girl for 3 months in college when she admitted that she had been in a long-distance relationship with her boyfriend from high school the entire time, and she had messed around with him each time she visited her parents, which was at least once a month. You deleted your Facebook, and my friend and I thought that was fishy. I don't even know where to start with that kind of rationality. We never have any fights, so you decide to cheat so I can get mad at you? I wanted to try something new. He cheated on me with his ex. My body was attracted to her, but my soul is always yours. Redditors with real-life butterfly effect stories. What happened and what was the series of events and outcomes? TLDR, I overdrafted and caused 4 marriages and 5 babies. Longer version, I was just out of high school and new in town with no job. I was living off what savings I had left and my account went below zero without me knowing. I was overdraft charged like 10 times and owed $300 plus. I went down to the bank, spoke with a teller, and she ended up being a lifesaver. She worked with me and got all the charges removed. On top of getting the charges removed, we got to talking about my situation and she said that her son worked at a local restaurant and she would help me get a job. She was a woman of her word, and by the end of the week I was working full-time. Fast forward, I meet a cool dude who worked there, we became friends, I introduced him to my sister, they fell in love, got married and had 2 kids. His best friend came into town for the wedding and I introduced him to my roommate at the time, they fell in love, got married and had 2 babies. I also got my best friend a job at the restaurant where he met a girl working there, they fell in love, got married and had a kid. Right before I left I got my roommate a job at the restaurant, met a customer, fell in love, got married and had a kid. As a bonus, my best friend, who I helped get the job, repaid the favor and got me a job at a different restaurant, where I met a girl, fell in love and got married. What is the biggest act of I got your back bro that has ever been done for you? Years ago I got drunk with some friends. At the end of the night I had lost everyone and took the bus home, alone. While the bus stops almost in front of my house, it takes about 45 minutes to get there. I was really shit-faced and just barely made my way to some seat in the back. While I was getting more and more tired, a few minutes later some guys, maybe 6 or 7, sat next to me. I could barely keep my eyes open, but was able to clearly hear them talking about how they're going to steal my things and maybe beat me up a little. So there I was sitting, drunk, unable to move my body, almost asleep but totally aware of the situation I was in, and there was nothing I could do about it. Suddenly one of the guys interrupted the discussion about where to get me and told everyone no one is going to touch that guy. That's Figa, I know him. We used to play together at the river when we were younger. He turns to me and talks a few words about how we used to hang out and said I could sleep now, he would watch my back. And so I fell asleep. My newfound, old bro woke me up when we were at the station and made sure I got home safe. He probably walked home then. I haven't really talked to him since, maybe saw him once or twice. We live in quite different worlds, I guess. Students who have dated their teachers, what's your story? I dated a law professor during the summer break after my first year. She was the spitting image of Lilith Sterlin, from Cheers, in looks, dress, and mannerisms. She had 20 years on me and was not someone I would have considered attractive at that stage of my life. It would be safe to say she was not well liked by most students. She had just gone through a very brutal and very public divorce. As I was walking out of class she was standing at the lectern with a 1,000-yard stare and looking utterly dejected. I talked her into hitting the bar with some other students and a couple of professors. She got loose, I got loose, and we spent the next 3 months tooling around. I blew off a summer internship to go screw around, which is probably why I ended up being a career public attorney, or not. Looking back, it was one of the happiest and most satisfying parts of my life. We broke it off amicably and remained friends right up until the time she succumbed to terminal illness a few years ago. Teachers of Reddit, what is the funniest reason you've had to send someone to the principal's office? There was a student with autism who lived in a very literal world, we'll call him T. You had to be precise with your words as T could not comprehend slang or figurative language. He had an issue with another student at recess the day prior. It was something minor about a basketball. Basically, T hit a basketball and placed it under the goal and walked away. Another student grabbed it. T became angry and ultimately gave the ball to the other student rather begrudgingly. Apparently, T told his uncle and the uncle's response was, "I'd have made that kid eat a shit sandwich." Well, T made a quick stop by the litter box before coming to school. He also wrote a note to the other kid saying, "I get the ball today, you can have this shit sandwich." It wasn't a gesture he viewed as inappropriate. He actually thought the shit sandwich was a viable option for the other student. I had to send him to the office, but my God did I laugh. Even his mom laughed before apologizing. The principal still has the note in the office 2 years later. What was the strangest rule you had to respect at a friend's house? I was around 8, when I went to a friend's place for a playdate and asked for a cup of water. Friend's mom pulls out one of the biggest glasses 8-year-old me had seen and filled it to the brim. I was only used to the small plastic cups at this stage, so was not used to such a large amount of water. After drinking just over a 1/4 of the glass, I went to go pour it out because I didn't want the rest. I was full up. Friend stopped me and said that we weren't allowed to pour out water, we had to drink it. 8-year-old me thought that was weird, but looking back, sure, good way to teach kids not to waste water, especially here in Australia where droughts are so common. So if I wasn't allowed to pour it out, what could I do with it? I thought I would just leave it for later. Friend once again stopped me and explained I wasn't allowed to leave it. I had to drink it all. I said I was thirsty anymore when her mom walked in and told me that water wasn't allowed to be wasted in this house and I better drink it all. Like right then and there. If you wanted water, you weren't allowed to leave it and come back later. You had to sit there and finish it. 8-year-old me tried to argue why I couldn't leave it for later, and the mom got pissed and had me sit at the kitchen bench stool and finish this massive glass. I sat there grumpily for ages trying to finish this thing so I could go back playing. I remember getting really uncomfortable because I needed to pee, and sure enough immediately afterwards I was dashing to the toilet. I get teaching kids not to just waste water but let them leave it to come back later. It's water, it won't spoil and they will drink it later. What was the creepiest or most paranormal thing that's ever happened to you? I shared a room with a guy in college who was a musician. He'd stay out late almost every night and come home around 3 or 4 in the morning. Our room was a straight shot through kitchen from the front door. One night I woke up to the bedroom door opening and figured it was just my roommate coming home after a gig. I thought it was strange that he turned the light on when coming in. He knew I was a light sleeper and would normally use his phone's light to shine around the room if he was looking for something while I was asleep. My bed was twin-sized, positioned against the wall connecting the bedroom to the kitchen. When he came in, I was facing the wall. I kept my eyes closed and pretended I was still asleep because I didn't feel like having a conversation with a most likely drunken friend while I was still half asleep. I heard him go to his side of the room, opposite of my bed, and rustle around his desk and dresser looking for something. Sometimes he would grab some clothes for the next day and go stay at a buddy's house, so I wasn't concerned. Then I felt him start reaching under my bed. I kept a few things under there, but he would normally ask before straight up taking anything of mine. At that point I was really confused and annoyed by all, so I made it a point to aggressively roll over on my other side and face the middle of the room and the direction from where he was reaching, so he knew I was pissed that he was ruining my beauty sleep. Then I heard nothing, but I could feel he shot up from under the bed and was just standing there. I never opened my eyes, but I figured he would either apologize for waking me up or something. But he never said a word. He just stood there. After probably 2 minutes with the light still on, I heard him leave the room and go to the kitchen. I opened my eyes after a couple more minutes because he left the light on in the bedroom. He wasn't in the kitchen, but he had pulled a knife from the knife block and left it on the table. I checked around the house and couldn't find it, but quickly realized my Xbox, book bag, wallet, etc. were stolen. I called my roommate to see if he had been home, but he was miles away at a party. He still had his house keys and never gave them to anyone else prior. I must have accidentally left the door unlocked that evening, which was the one time someone decided to check the knob. Police never followed up with me after the night, so I doubt they ever caught the guy. I can't imagine what would have happened if I ever did open my eyes and see the guy standing there, or if I chased him out to the kitchen. What's the strangest incident that's happened on an airline flight? Last year I was traveling to Israel to see my daughter who was expecting my 3rd grandchild. I was traveling alone on this occasion on El Al, and I had booked my seat on the aisle as is usual with me, as I am slightly claustrophobic and do not enjoy being hemmed in on a plane. When I eventually got to my seat, there was a religious, Hasidic, gentleman sitting in the middle of the set of 3 seats in that row, and as I went to sit down he gestured ungentlemanly, I thought not to sit there, as he, as a religious Jew, could not sit next to a woman. You can imagine I felt uncomfortable. I called the stewardess and calmly explained I wanted an aisle seat near the front of the plane because that is what I booked. She wanted to seat me in the middle row of 5 further back where I knew all the screaming children were usually sat. I will usually try to help anyone out, but this was a bridge too far. So I politely suggested that if this gentleman did not want to sit near me, in all logic he should be the one to move and not I. I was feeling by this time uncomfortable with the situation. Uncomfortable that he was comfortably seated whilst I was being shunted around standing in the aisle and all the passengers shoving me from side to side. But I was proud of myself. It was a 5-hour flight and I did not want to get in my earl mode for the duration. I waited patiently, and then the flight attendant came up with a solution and she found a gentleman who was prepared to swap with the religious man. So at last it was accomplished and we were all seated. Once airborne, the gentleman who had swapped places wanted to know what was going on, and I explained the situation, that it was forbidden for these religious people to sit next to women. Their wives of course excluded.